Okay, good evening, and actually we can say Good Chodesh because tonight is already the new month of Iyar, which we're going to be discussing tonight. Be'ezus Hashem, the feature of Iyar and healing, and by divine providence, interesting that this subject was chosen for this week, because this also relates to the parsha of this week, speaking about leprosies, healing leprosies, and how the different options that the Medrash speaks about, how they're able to do it. So, in general, the connection between Iyar and healing is reflected in many different ways, but it is also reflected in the name of the month. The name of the month, Iyar, is an acronym for three words, Ani Hashem Reifecha. I am your God, your cure, your healer. Actually, this verse, Ani Hashem Reifecha, I am your healer, the God you heal, the Almighty, the healer, is basically out of context from a pasuk, a verse that is mentioned at the end of the split of the sea and the song that they sang after that, the Shira, the song for the miracle that took place then. So by the end it says there that Moshe Rabbeinu gives over to the Jewish nation, that the Almighty says that Im Shameya Tishma, if you're going to listen to my commandments, so all the different illnesses that I didn't place in Egypt, I will not place on you, because I am your healer. So the commentaries and Chassidus in particular, the Rebbe in particular elaborates on the words Le'osem alecha kani Hashem reifecha, that I will not place on you because I am your cure, which means basically I am your healer, that it's a prevention. It's a prevention, number one, a prevention that it won't happen because Ani Hashem reifecha, that's the literal meaning. But then there's a deeper meaning to that. And that we'll discuss a little further, just mentioning it here in a nutshell, that when we say I will not place it on you because I'm your healer, is in a sense also including that the healing will be in such a way that there's no remnants left from the past, as if it has never happened. And this is only something that can be accomplished by the Almighty, because in general, when a person in general has had a certain illness, God forbid, so a doctor could find it years later. If, for example, it was a heart attack, so there was a damage, the heart tissue was scarred. So there's a damage, there's something left, and that is the reason why halachically many people do not bench gamel. They do not make a blessing, thanking the Almighty that He has delivered them out of this completely of this situation, the health condition, because there's something left. The person has to take pills. The body, the heart was affected. So therefore, this is all something that can only be solved for the future, but the past cannot be corrected. The only one that can do it is basically the Almighty. He says, Ani Hashem Reifecha, that I am your healer. And this is also the difference between when it comes to vows. So there's also, it says, for example, a chacham, a wise person could be matir, that he can release, he can actually dissolve the vow, the promise that a person made, even for the past. But when it comes to the full healing, a doctor cannot do it. A doctor cannot change the past. So basically, when we say Le'osem alecha kani Hashem reifecha, is basically that the Almighty does it in such a way that there's no remnants left also from the past. Start with a little story, not really from the big stories, but basically this shows in a practical sense what it means. This parsha, the Torah portion of Parsha B'Shalach, which is in Exodus, Chumash of Exodus, that speaks about that I won't place it on you because I'm your healer. So basically, it's told that there was in the 1940s, there was an older chassid, and he had problems, different problems, a health condition. I think it was stomach problems. And the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe told him, he should always make sure to be called up to the Torah by this Torah portion, because this is a special blessing, a blessing for the person, for the health of the person. So every year he would go up, he would be called up to the Torah by this Torah portion. Speaking about Iyar as Ani Hashem Rifecha, that Iyar is basically considered healing. So, discussing a little more the background of the month of Iyar before we discuss the abbreviation of Iyar, is that Iyar is a time which is spring, a time that the nature and world is being renewed, trees begin blossoming, animal life begins again, renewed, and then also people also feel more refreshed, lighter. They came out of the winter, they came out of the cold, they came out of the darkness, which are the shorter days, and therefore the system, the body system, the body clock, everything is on a different scale, on a different schedule. We say basically spring forward. So it's basically, in a spiritual sense, forward means everything. A person exerts themselves, a person steps alive. This is a time that there's a refreshment in the nature of the whole world. The reason for that is because Ani Hashem Rifecha. Because Iyar is a time that is the acronym of the word Iyar is Ani Hashem Rifecha, I am the Almighty, your healer. And therefore, the Rebbe says, it comes in a way which is prevention, in a way that there is, in the first place, there is no illness in the first place. It is completely like, it just the healing alone and nothing else before that. Now the question is, when it comes to the acronym of the word Iyar, how is it that we say Ani Hashem Rifecha, I am the Almighty your healer, when the word Iyar has two yuds? There's two yuds, and we are just using three words. There's 4 letters in total, Aleph, Yud, Yud, Reish, and we are only using the Aleph, Yud, Reish, Ani Hashem Rifecha. The reason there's 2 yuds is interesting. It's mentioned in Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of the Jewish Law, that the reason Iyar needs to be 2 yuds is because it's an acronym for 4 different personalities. Avram, Yitzchak, Yankev, Rachel. Avram, Yitzchak, Yankev being our patriarchs, and Rachel being the mother of the Jewish nation, the Akeres Habayis. She was the one that was the primary wife of Jacob, Yankev. So therefore, basically, she also represented the 4th leg of the Merkava, the heavenly chariot, the heavenly carriage, which is basically Avram, Yitzchak, Yankev, each one representing a certain attribute. The attribute of Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferet, which are basically Avram is Chesed, generous, Yitzchak is Gevura, strictness, which is fear of the Almighty, and Avram served the Almighty with love. This was basically the primary emotion with which Avram Avinu and Avram served the Almighty and inherited it to the whole Jewish nation. And Yankev is the union of pity, bringing awakening, a pity for the Jewish nation. And Rachel basically represents the Jewish nation. Rachel is in Kabbalah called Knesset Yisrael. Knesset Yisrael, Malchut, which is basically the Jewish nation in its nucleus. So this is basically Rachel, who's the primary one in the household of Yankev. So therefore there needs to be, Iyar is spelled with 2 Yud and Aleph and a Reish. So it's Aleph, Yud, Yud, Reish. And there's also questions. What happens if a person wrote in the contract, marriage contract, 1 Yud instead of 2 Yud? So there's different opinions. So the question is, how could we say that it's an acronym for Ani Hashem Rifecha if Iyar has 2 Yuds and Ani Hashem Rifecha is 3 words? So the Rebbe explains in a talk which he gave in 1986, Parsha Kadeshim, a very interesting answer. And the explanation goes as follows. When we pronounce the Almighty's name, we don't pronounce it the way it's written. We pronounce it in a different format, in a format which is another name of the Almighty, which means the Almighty's name is Yud Kei Vav Kei, a Yud, a Kei, and a Vav and a Kei. But we now, in our time, as the tractate tells us in Psachim, Bisman Hazel, we don't pronounce Hashem's name like that. This was only in the temple that the Kohen was able to do it, the Kohen Gadol. The top Kohen was able to do it. But we pronounce it with the Shem, which is Aleph Daled Nun Yud. We pronounce it with the Adna Shem, not with the Shem of Yud Kei Vav Kei. We don't pronounce the letters Yud Kei Vav Kei. When we put together these two names, we find over here two Yuds. We find a Yud right in the beginning of Yud Kei Vav Kei, and then we find a Yud by the end of the name that we pronounce. Together there are two Yudin. So this is basically the way we pronounce the Almighty's name, the four-letter name which is considered the name of essence, the Shem HaMefurash, the name that was used in the temple in the time of Yom Kippur, privately announced that the Kohen Gadol would announce at the top Kohen when he was doing the service on the one day in the year, the holiest day of the year.
I thought that was 72 letter.
Yeah, so there's different klolim in that, but basically it's the Shem Havaya is considered the Shem Ha'etzem, Shem HaMefurash, Shem HaMiyuchad, the selected, designated name, the special name, unique name. So therefore these are the two Yud. We have a Yud which is the beginning of Yud Kei Vav Kei, and it concludes with a Yud, which is the Aleph Daled Nun Yud, concludes with a Yud. We have to be careful when we write it, we always make a dash between the letters, not to write out the whole thing, because it's a holy name and needs to be kept in scriptures, in holy scriptures, once a person wants to dispose it. So therefore, there's always a dash written between the Yud and the Kei, and then there's a dash written between the Nun and the Yud, which is by the end. And this is basically the explanation for the Iyar. That when it comes to Iyar, it is two Yuds, because actually when we pronounce the Almighty's name, there is the name that we think about, and then there is the way we pronounce it, so there's two Yud. And it'll be the upcoming redemption, so this is when we will pronounce the Almighty's name the way it is Yud Kei Vav Kei. Kishem shani nichtav ani nikra, as the tractate says in Psachim, the way I am written, that's the way I will be called. Mm-hmm. Now it's not like that. Then it'll be like that verbally, this is the way we'll be referring to the name. Another interesting feature that we find in the month of Iyar is the Miriam's well. The well of Miriam that was given after they went out of Egypt was given in the month of Iyar. There's no exact date, but the well of Miriam accomplished many things, in addition to the fact that they had what to drink, and as it says that it's split into 12 different directions for 12 different tribes. In addition to that, it was also used for family purity. It was also used later years. I mean, it's used for healing, as it's mentioned in Shulchan Aruch, a very interesting halacha. And the Alter Rebbe writes as follows. The Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi writes in the Laws of Shabbos, chapter 299, paragraph 20, that there are some that have a custom to draw water every Mitzvah Shabbos, every Saturday night, as it's called in English, because the well of Miriam makes her rounds over all the wells, and whoever bumps into it and drinks from this water is immediately cured from all the illnesses. And therefore, Mitzvah Shabbos is a time that people will draw water from the wells. To the extent that sometimes it's even discussed that they should be careful because the women would do it right after Borchu, right after the beginning of Ma'ariv, although they didn't hear Havdalah. And with this we understand a very interesting insight. Although I didn't plan to include it here, but It is something which is a very interesting insight, the way the Rebbe wrote the calendar. The Rebbe put together a calendar called Hayom Yom. Today is the day. And that was written exactly 70 years ago, published. Today, the calendar is available in many different languages. In the original language, which was Yiddish and Hebrew, because different various quotes were in Yiddish, some were in Hebrew. It is available in English, it's available in Spanish, it's available in Russian, it's available in French, it's available in Braille, it's available in Yiddish, it's available in many languages.
Email.
Available on Chabad.org. And then there are different volumes that are coming out, they're published, and how they explain it in English. Again, different volumes in English itself. So the Rebbe writes on the 3rd of Iyar, this coming Shabbos, the Rebbe writes, this is the first Shabbos in Iyar, like this year. The Rebbe writes, we do not drink water before Havdalah. So the question is, why does the Rebbe choose that Shabbos to write, we don't drink water before Havdalah? Why did he wait till now? There are many Shabbosim, many Havdalahs till now. They were coming from Kislev, because the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus is basically Yutas Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, which was the day that the Rav Shneimeh Zalman of Liadi was released from prison, the first time in 1799. So the question is, why is it that he chooses to wait till now? The answer is, because the month of Iyar, the well of Miriam was given. And since it was customary to draw water right after Baruch Hu, after they made the initial prayer, the introduction to the evening prayer after Shabbos, so therefore, and the Shulchan Aruch says that the only thing that you can drink before Havdalah, the benediction over the wine, ending the Shabbos, is water. So comes the Rebbe and gives a double thing here. Number one, we're talking about the Be'er Shel Miriam. It's the time that people will draw water, and the tendency is to do it right after Shabbos. And the second thing is that we also don't drink water after and the reason is, it's mentioned in different places. One reason is that because in order not to steal from the deceased people, because the water is cooling off the Gehenim, and therefore it's drinking then, or according to another being a Friday, a certain time, is stealing Gezel Min HaMesim.